Okay, we're live.
Good evening, everyone. Today is Thursday, June 4th, 2026. It is 6:01. We are calling the Village of Somerset Planning Commission meeting to order. We will have a roll call. Donald Kern, I'm present. Jessica,
Here.
Lane Belter,
Here.
Brenda Forrest,
Here.
Kim Putz,
Here.
Brent Stanley,
Here.
and Dan Benas.
Here.
All present and accounted for. We will open up the public hearing for application to replat land parcel 181-4110-43-400 located at 455 Bruce Larson Way. Applicant Citywide Development. We'll have public comment on the replat of land application. Anyone wish to give public comment?
Public comment.
Please state your name and
Dave Esler, 494 Drive, Somerset, Wisconsin. Some people have brought to my attention that the outlot is Citywide is looking to develop 3 houses in there. People of that development up there have expressed interest to me that because it's all micro-sized lots and congested housing and only streets the children move around on, that they're very unhappy. There's no spaces for the kids to go play other than crossing over into the school grounds. That outline is listed as an outline from the lot that was originally laid out. I think 3 more homes in there is unnecessary. And I'm not quite sure if there needs to be review of this whole project. Because as the comments from the people in that development have all said to me, there's no access for kids anywhere. And as you look at this development that's going out, there's no space for the kids. The pond back there, which is gonna hold the majority of the water in that development, unless it's landscaped around decently, there's no room there for kids to play with on those slopes that flow down to the pond. So I would make a recommendation as a citizen, as a constituent of the city, that we reject the offer for the 3 lots to be built and rezoning of that property. And we should look at, as there's no trail system going through this development for kids to move on, it puts the kids that are in this development nothing but streets to move on. And everything is blind in there because of the amount of housing in there. So as you come in and look down, as you go into that development, just envision that on the next back half of that development, you're gonna see how congested it's gonna be. So my recommendation would be to look at that lot and leave it as an open space. And to also look at the rest of that development and see what we can do, how we're gonna get trail systems in and through it. Any questions?
thank you. Anyone else wish to provide public comment at the public hearing?
Yeah, my name is Johnny Anderson. I represent Citywide Development, and we're here tonight to plat the outlot into 3 individual parcels. I do have a copy of the original approved preliminary plat that is here, that was approved previously, and there are trails and sidewalks throughout this project, just some of them haven't built because we're not into the future phases yet. Actually, in the current phase that's out there where the existing houses are, there's kind of a pond to the north side that buffers that between the school property. Where you can actually walk back there, and there's trails that tie into the school, kind of on the east side of the project where those 2 new cul-de-sacs are going in that just got built. And there's a trail that will be going in kind of on the west where the new extension street was just paved. If you go further to the north into future phases, north of that big pond out there, there's a trail system that will also come from our local streets and tie into the school property on the north side of that pond. Obviously, we haven't built them streets yet in that trail yet. And then all the streets do have sidewalk. There's existing sidewalk on Bruce Larson Way, which will continue all the way through the development. And some of the other local streets, which is the street that actually abuts These three lots has a sidewalk, and there's other streets throughout the project that will have sidewalks as well, and those trails tie into all those sidewalks, so there is access out there. And what we're looking for on this plat is three lots that match the existing houses that back up to the highway out there. And as you go further to the west, there'll be additional houses and lots just like that as well. So we're just filling in this outlot. If you go back to the original site plan and concept plan, these were actual lots that were designed for there. And then when the preliminary plat came through, it was platted as an outlot. That's why we've submitted for both preliminary and final plat here tonight to actually do a preliminary plat for those three lots that were in the original concept plan. These lots are 50 feet wide at the front setback line, which is what the requirement was through the original PUD variance approval. And they're actually 5 feet larger than the existing houses on that same side of the street out there. Those lots were based on a 45-foot design, and a lot further to the west will also be based on that. So we're just looking to plat these three lots to match the existing street out there and the houses that are already in place. And they'll also match the future stuff to the west of it. So the existing lots that were just built and paved, on Bruce Larson Way and the two cul-de-sacs, those are the larger lots, 65-foot wide minimums that were previously approved. So those were approved by you guys last year. And we did get those paved and built. We're actually meeting on site tomorrow with the electric and gas companies to get the joint trench started. So those houses should be started on those fairly soon. And Bob, I don't know if Capstone submitted any permits on any of those lots yet, do you know, or? I know they got some staked out there for surveys, but I don't know.
Sorry, it's not three Capstone ones.
So there are three in there, so
I
that's,
swear, but I don't know if they're for that though.
okay, yeah, I know they staked three, I think it was three.
Yeah, I
actually.
saw that they had stakes.
So yeah, so they are planning on starting homes real soon out there, so. So yeah, so with that, I'll take any questions and I'm here, but we're just looking to plat these. What the original concept showed is the same three lots that were originally planned for that area, so.
Is there any other green space here besides the outlots that have ponds on them?
There is an outlot kind of in the middle of the site that will be like a small wetland that's there right now, that's being preserved. That's kind of up northwest of that big pond area, that's on the west side of the school. But no, there is no other green space that was approved in the preliminary plat.
Why was that outlot set there in the preliminary?
I can answer that. I was part of this when that whole development got first thought about, then from all stages, so was Dan.
Okay.
And because of the density of that development, we had planned on that outlot either being a green space or some type of service for all the people. So put a pavilion, maybe put I don't know what kind of store, but some type of convenience store, dollar store, not be at all, but we are trying to put up all these cute little shop stores. Something was gonna go there as a convenience for the density of the people there. Not housing, absolutely not housing. That was pretty rock solid when we started this whole process, not housing.
So that's why it's changed from the original concept had houses there and then it changed to
Yeah.
not having them.
Yeah,
Which
we
are not allowed.
put a hard block on that way back in the day.
Because we just didn't feel there was enough green space. But that's
Mhm.
right.
Green space and public service for that development. Just something to say, hey, we know we're packing you in here, but here's a little gift to you. So more housing.
Is the city looking to take that on for ownership then, or who was gonna own it?
I don't remember how that all played out. I just remember not much more than what I just shared.
Okay,
Because no developer's gonna want to keep it for forever.
Right.
Right.
They're gonna want to eventually turn it over.
we have zero interest in putting like a shop or a store there either. I don't think that could survive in that location, but.
I don't know. That I don't know about. I just know what our intent was and what got discussed way back in the day when that got turned into an outlet.
And I was involved in those original approvals. I know the Capstone people were kind of dealing with that at the time. And there were some things that got through certain ways that we weren't really aware of and everything, not me, myself, I should say. So we're trying to figure out, what that was for. That was one of the first questions I asked, what's this outline?
Yeah.
It wasn't set aside in anything we had from a park or anything.
That's a fair question.
Yeah,
That's my memory of what we had when we first started there.
So I've got a question about the description on this thing. We're looking at outlot 4 in this application. Going back when I think it was originally approved, wasn't this outlot 2?
It was outlot 2 in the preliminary plat. In the actual final plat, it got put to outlot 4. So sometimes those numbers change between preliminary and final.
Anything else come before us at the public hearing?
Dave, you had your hand raised.
Well, when this development got planned, I was on the planning commission as my first night when it got approved. And that was discussed about lack of green space for the kids. And that discussion that night was about that outlot having something. So, I mean, the development is pretty compacted. And, you know, we owe the residents something.
Yeah, that, I agree. I mean, so whether it becomes some type of shop place, because I know we've got them going up on that new development, that little apartment place going up past the car wash. And I mean, they're around. And so supposedly, I mean, that's the last word we heard was these little shops are a big hit now and they're a big drive and we need these to get community feel. Well, if that's what we just heard a couple months ago, I don't know how that can be different for here and now. I mean, that's the push that we just heard was we need these little places to have a good, fun Somerset community feel. Not more housing, more little nods to the people.
I guess the question is, right now it's private property. And, citywide development wouldn't want neighborhood kids out there from a liability standpoint. So I guess the question is, if we own it, it's gonna be trespassing if people are on there, I guess. So how do we handle that? I mean, is the city willing to take this and maintain it as a park, or what's the city's, what's Somerset's position?
That hasn't been discussed yet, right?
Yeah.
Yes, we're just addressing the issue of replatting and land application for this location. And obviously, we'll have to discuss that a little bit more. They're down in the new business for deal, so.
We have no interest of doing a commercial shop there. I don't see that as a winning strategy at all in that location.
Anything else to come before us on the public hearing? We appreciate your input on that. If we have any further stuff, we'll call for you down when we get into the, on the agenda, okay? Hearing nothing else, no further input, we will close the public hearing. I'd like to call the regular meeting to order. We'll have public comment on agenda items, 2 minutes per person and 14 minutes a topic. If you've already commented on the item, I'd suggest holding your opinions, but other items, to allow other items for the public comment on the agenda. Anybody online?
No.
We will close public comment on agenda items, 2 minutes, and next item on the agenda is minutes from May 7th, 2026, regular meeting. What's this committee's pleasure?
I motion to approve the May 7th, 2026 minutes as printed.
A second.
Motion made and seconded to approve the minutes as presented. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carried. New business, 7A, discussion possible recommendation, application to replat parcel 181411043 located at 455 Bruce Larson Way.
I can't see any more houses in there. And it's just in there now.
Very dense.
If the city were to be able to take that over, fenced in part, something. If there's road concerns.
Was it, I'll ask this, was there any discussion at the planning commission? On that outlot as far as, is it just gonna be green space that was supposed to be taken over by or turned over to the village, or was it, is it?
That's what I'm remembering. Is park space, but everybody knows the developer's not gonna sit on park space and own it and insure it and.
Yeah.
So that would be, you'd be turned over to the village.
Is that, was that?
That's what I remember.
Okay, well, I don't, but nothing was really said in that discussion with me. Would that be in the developer's agreement? That, once everything else looks up to speed, that portion would be turned over to that outlot 3 would be turned over as green space to the village for
It would
maintenance?
be included in a developer's agreement. I'd have to review that to see if it's, spelled out in that agreement. But just a couple things, so I don't recall I'm not saying that wasn't the conversation. I had to call Matt when this came up. I'm like, I don't understand why this is an outlot. He was, we just added green space. And I said, okay. With housing stock, not all developments are, I would say, family friendly. There's maybe not as much amenities in certain areas, and this is one of them where we did extract a lot of the green space park land dedication just because it was in conjunction with the school district. And there's 15 acres of soccer fields there, there's playgrounds. So we looked at it as being redundancy and, well, are they gonna use this or are they just gonna go over the school district and use that? The school district is an open campus and, they did come to a meeting and said, yeah, there's open to that neighborhood as well as the rest of the community. Their taxpayers, they're paying for those amenities so they can use that. So that was kind of where the bearing was on some of the tightness of these, and that they did come and get the variance to have the smaller detached villa product that their product did fit into. And yeah, it is tight. It's tight. On a marketability, it was also done intentionally because that backs up to the freeway. Putting a significantly sized house just doesn't attract the buyers, so that was why that product was chosen to go in that location. And then as you work your way through that, the lots open up, the houses are bigger. I think these are Liberty style homes. That's their smallest product in that area, and then the detached villas as well as what they're proposing here. So just, that's a little bit of kind of background that I just wanted the board, this commission to hear. Obviously, yeah, there's if there's ownership by the village, then we will have to maintain that. Is that a problem? No, not necessarily. Just another area for us to cut grass. And if we put some type of a playground in there, we can certainly consider that, but that's really up to this commission to decide how they want to gear, but just wanted to provide some information on, the differences of housing stock. And some just, they're not attractive for kids and families. And this is kind of one of those areas.
I don't disagree with that, Bob, but I would have thought that that would have probably been laid out in the preliminaries then, right? If it's gonna be that condensed, why would that lot be set open as an outlot? That's why I was trying to figure what the actual premise was, that now it's coming back to us saying, well, let's put housing here versus why wouldn't we have done that when the original drafts were put forward to the.
Yeah, and as Lane just said, that must have come out of this plan commission to say, let's keep this open.
Okay, so then the question really comes, the planning commissions want to change their position and look at, considering this application for three different lots on this outlot, or is that something that,
I'd be a definite no on that vote.
Me too.
Well, if you haven't been up there and what they have staked out now, and I did get the opportunity to look at a approved map back in 2019, I believe it is. So beyond this, to the northwest, there's lots in there And I don't know how you can put that many houses in that property up there. And I'm very surprised that the planning commission accepted it at that time the way it was. But there is no room in there. That pond takes up a lot of area. And does that 2019 approval, do we have to honor that, or is there a limit on years, or can that be reviewed again? I mean, in all fairness to the builder
It would have to be
and to the village.
it would have to be the developer would have to agree to that.
Okay.
So that,
We agreed to, that this was gonna be, we agreed with a PUD, which is smaller lots and
Mhm.
smaller, not necessarily smaller houses, but we also looked at the fact that the trend was people didn't want bigger. People, the next generation coming up doesn't care to mow. That's something we took into consideration, we talked about at the time.
That was definitely part of it.
Yeah, then,
But this particular area, you said you guys said we'll choose to leave this green space.
This green space
Before
shows.
squishing more in there.
Yes. And in all honesty, this was one of our first big developments that we were
kind of density.
working on, and with the density and everything else, and I know I was out of my league when trying to hear and listen and fathom all that was going on. And I look now in back hindsight and say, wow, we could have, would have, should have done this, that, and the other thing. Well, too late. We were kind of brand new in the game and did what happened, but I think by agreeing to more housing in there right now would just be magnifying what we already have agreed to, something that was more than we probably should have agreed to in the first place. We learn as we go along.
the other reason we get smaller lot sizes is due to financial reasons, and there's a housing crisis, and shrinking the lots makes the lots more affordable. So there's that other side of, do I want a super small? I don't know that people, but they can afford.
Yeah.
That's what.
And back then, there was a lot of talk about the number of single family homes we had versus apartments we had versus this, that, and the other thing. And based on the percentages of what we currently had, here's what we need to do now to get back into what is seen as being very marketable for growth and, helpful to the people of low, medium, and high income. And there were just a whole lot of factors that were thrown at us very fast, and this fit. And yeah, what you had said, we had heard very clearly that, that person who likes mowing lawn and doing yard work, they don't exist to the degree that they used to exist. And so they wanted small spaces.
Are the ones that back up to the highway an association though? So these would be in an association where someone does the lawn mowing and you pay those association dues?
So there is an association on that. I don't know if that association is gonna stay in place at this point. I know the future phase, or the one we just completed, is not going to have an association. And I can address a couple of things too, as far as the market and stuff. When this first phase went in a few years back, those lots that back up to the highway there were narrower, and it was a density thing, a price point thing. And honestly, it was probably 2 or 3 years too early for Somerset. You've seen it over in the Twin Cities in a lot of areas. Since that time, the market has gone 100% more towards that type of product. So you do see a lot of buyers. And if you remember the variance, and Bob and I were talking about today on the phone, it was actually considered like a detached twin home. And I'm doing a project in Farmington over there in Twin Cities, and Capstone's the builder, and they are building this exact same product except for 5 feet even narrower. And they are not competing against single family in a lot of cases, but against Lennar, was a big townhome community right across the road. So from a competitive standpoint, it's a price point thing. So when you have townhomes in Somerset, I know going, west side of town here, there's stuff on the south side of the road. You look at density, well, that's actually more dense than what these are, but yet we can compete against that product and still have the individual home, the individual lot, where people feel that in most cases, if you had a choice for somebody, would rather have a single family home that's small like this, or would you rather have a townhome? Most people pick the single family home. So it's a desirability factor as well plays into that. So you've got that, whole aspect of, the overall density on the whole site and how much was approved and coulda, shoulda, woulda, or whatever, but how is this different than townhomes that are attached? It really isn't. It's actually a less dense neighborhood than that.
Yeah.
And you typically want to put the higher density type product adjacent to your busier roadways because, it's a less desirable location. And it's also a cheaper price point, and the people that have the less money to buy a home typically are okay with that because a lot of this is starter homes for people that haven't built a home before or bought one. And then in 10 years or something, maybe they move up to one of the bigger lots up in the northern end of the project or something like that. So that's why we have the product there. And then, from the green space, I don't know if everyone's seen this, but I'll try to show it to everybody. This is the outlot that we're talking about
Why don't you
right
come a little
there.
closer?
Yeah, and I don't know.
Way back out.
This is the original approval for the plat. This is the outlot right there. And there's a trail connection literally right across the street that goes there. This little X I put, that's the playground for the school, the big playground area. So the people that are living here can literally walk right to that location to a playground and up in all the fields that are down in that area. So to say there isn't green space right there, there is. There's actually a lot of it right in that location. And to put another park here, another playground there, you're kind of doubling up. And can the city mow the lawn? Yeah. Can they put a playground there? Yeah, it's double maintenance and things like that. Now, well, if you're living up in this end, it's actually closer to go to that than it is going down that outlet. Now, you do have, the big pond area, which is open space. It's a nice visual, attraction. The lots that back up to that are gonna be nice lots, looking out there at that pond. So there is actual playground, park area in this location, very close, and that is why, I don't know the reason why that was considered green space right there. I know the original concept did show these 3 lots. And all the way along here, these are the ones that are built right now, and these are the same size, and as you go this way, and this little group right there, those are all those smaller lots, and all up this road, and these are all the bigger lots, because these are gonna be the more desirable, the higher priced product up in that end, that, that's future phases as we get down the road. But for now, when this road extends, all these lots are gonna be the exact same thing as what these 3 would be. And we look at it as a piece of land that was owned by Citywide, we'd have no use for it for just sitting there for grass.
Well, and it goes back to my question.
Yeah.
I'm a little green on this but once that build out gets done, what happens to that lot? Does that lot stay with Citywide or does that lot?
As
supposed
of
to be-
right,
No, I'm saying,
yeah.
what does the developers agreement say? I don't know. I'd like to know.
Yeah,
But
my
if the
understanding is it
developers
stays
agreement
with
says-
Citywide, but I'd have to double check for sure, but
Okay,
I don't have that in front of me.
I don't know, because I wouldn't see why that they wouldn't say that it would need to be taken over. Why would, Citywide wanna keep a piece of property and not be part of it? Okay, once we turn this all over, it's yours to manage and maintain.
We can turn it over to Somerset, you mean? Yeah,
That's why I wouldn't see why they would leave that open in a developer's agreement.
I don't know. I wasn't involved in that
I
one.
mean,
Years
so
back.
that's why I'm asking the question. I don't.
Mhm.
It just says subdivider agrees to deed outlot 1 to municipality within 5 days of reporting the final plat.
I believe that's the pond outlot,
It is.
correct? That's the one that's right up, like right here, the pond along the south side of the school area. So this was all a different outlot.
That's a lot.
Well, it's outlot 2 on the preliminary. I think it's outlot 4 on the final. What it ended up being.
So there's nothing interesting outlots at all. So you'll have that, you're gonna have to maintain that water basin up on the top end of that as
This
well?
pond,
Yep, cause that's an outlot too, right?
it's not, this hasn't been deeded to the city. As we get up here, this would all be platted into future phases.
But is that an outlot or is that,
This is an outlot that'll be platted into a future phase, which I assume the city would take it.
but it's not in the developer's agreement? You just said the only one that you have is outlot 1.
Yep, that's in the original developers agreement.
That's it. I think he's talking about this pond in the future.
Okay.
Yeah, so typically what happens is you have your preliminary plat, which is what this document was, and it shows your layout. and you have these outlots, and then when this one got dedicated in phase one,
Right,
which was, the ponds behind those few houses there, that's all been squared away and taken care of. This one had no long-term use, which is the one we're talking about tonight for the 3 lots.
but that's in a different phase also, correct?
This one here?
Yeah.
It was platted in the original phase as an outlot. It wasn't part of the preliminary plat.
But he was saying it was outlot 2 and now it's outlot 4?
No.
It was outlot 2 in the preliminary, but when it got final platted, became outlot 4. Not all the numbers always match your preliminary and final.
Okay,
So there was no long-term use for that. This one here, we know the pond's built. So that's gonna be a pond outlot, just like it shows, and that would get dedicated when this next phase up here goes in. That'll be an outlot that'll get deeded to Somerset at that point. There's a small outlot here, which is part of that little wetland area that's gonna be preserved. That'll probably get deeded to open space as well. This one here, though, is the question. That's why we're here tonight, looking to split that into 3 lots. And, when we talk about open space, like I said, one of the things that we're doing in our meeting tomorrow with the Xcel Energy is there's actually gonna be lines that are run down through this area. So we have sidewalk that needs to go in on these streets yet. We're not gonna do that until electric and gas is installed, because you can't install that underneath the sidewalk. I mean, you can, but it's a nightmare. And so, that'll come here in the near future, but we gotta get electric and gas in soon, which will happen here in June. So probably maybe even by July 4th or July sometime, these sidewalks and trail connections, will be made. Now, the ones over here, these are already in place. The sidewalk along Bruce Larson Way up to this point is already in place. So that's all coming. I know just last year when I got involved in this project, we did a lot of punch list stuff back on this pond. There was some erosion issues. We had to clean stuff up, silt fence removal, or sidewalk repair that had to be done. So we did a lot of work, got that all taken care of, and that's why we were able to move on with that current phase.
correct me if I'm wrong, what you're saying, John, is that the outlot 1, which was deeded, or will be, has it been deeded?
This
over
one
to the
here?
Village, yeah, the one
Correct.
on is that you did all the
Yep.
work to it?
Yep.
We got that punch list out, right, and that's already been
That's all done.
pulled the trigger, it's the villages now, right?
Correct. I
Okay.
think there's still a warranty on the street.
Sure.
That expires.
Yeah.
Like.
We got a warranty on it, but that's been done. So then the next one is the outlot 2. That was on the preliminary, right?
Yep.
And is that in phase 1?
Not in any phase right now. We're actually calling it. the
So
second
you're
edition.
basically going, I don't know what this is here for.
Yeah, so we
It
did,
wasn't spelled out on the developer's agreement, so we don't know.
this was the original phase. These cul-de-sacs and this street extension was the first edition. We're calling this the second edition, those
Okay.
3 lots. Our next phase, if this gets approved, our next phase, which would be going down in this area, would be the 3rd edition. So we're actually planning this right now.
We're just trying to figure out what to do with that lot
Correct.
because it wasn't really just spelled out.
It
in the
wasn't
development.
spelled out, and we were sitting there and we first got involved. One of the first questions, like, what is this? And
Yeah.
nobody knew. And
Same thing with those other 2 lots that you have up on top.
these here?
Yeah.
Well, we know what those are because those have direct use.
But it's nothing spelled out in the developer's agreement.
No, but there's already a pond built in that location and there's already a wetland there and we're not gonna impact that. So all lot's gotta be there because of the existing use in the ground. This is just grass. That's all it is right now.
So you wanna take the grass and put a house on it. but the-
Greenhouse.
Three.
Or I'm sorry, put houses on it.
Yeah.
Plural. And you wanna leave the water to us.
Stormwater,
The
Yeah.
ponds, the ponds, he's leaving the ponds.
that's how that is typically how that works. So.
No green space.
No, this sounds like this development didn't really have green space because they were gonna use all the school's green space.
Yeah, I mean, there's green space literally right here.
Yeah.
Which is in the
That's,
corner.
that's what I'm saying, is that your land, though, we're talking no green space, we get the water, you put houses on the rest, right?
Yeah, I mean, we construct everything. This still isn't fully accepted yet. And I don't know if you know the whole background, but there's a storm sewer line for an outlet. That we can't do any more phases up in this area until this outlet comes across and connects over to here. And we've been actively working with the school district in that. They have our plans right now for that construction. We're waiting for their engineer to finalize it. We have another parcel that we own right over in this area. And we've worked with the school district. We're putting a deed restriction on that property. And the long-term plan will be the daycare will go there. And the school district is fully on board with that. They actually want that because they do have daycare at their school right now. And they literally want to kind of get that off their hands and have more of a location where kids can literally walk back and forth if need be versus having to bus somewhere. They don't really want to do the daycare business. So we've been working with them on that. And as soon as their engineer finalizes their review, we can finalize the easement with them. And once that's done, we would come back, construct that. So that's why this has not been dedicated to Somerset yet, because there's still infrastructure that needs to go into that pond yet. And typically we have to put that in place, get it all approved before that happens. So there's a timing factor in all this as well. And that's how it works, you know, as we go forward, this pond accepts a ton of the water on the site. And I think there's, yeah, that one might be, so.
Then I
Well,
guess,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
my apologies. Then I guess my only last question on that whole deal is, why wasn't there 3 lots put there to begin with?
I don't know that answer.
It was on the original. I think it was on the very
As a
original.
concept plan.
And then it came here and I think they said no. or something.
And so they said no. And they went forward with the concept, it was approved by the board.
Yep.
And now they're coming back going,
We wanna go back to the original.
Because we don't see the purpose of it, to be honest with you, when you have literally a trail connection to the green space right there.
well, there must have been a purpose at one time, since we agreed to it in the developers agreement.
Yeah,
Is this the-
well, agreed to on.
I wasn't here, so I just, they agreed to on paper.
Yeah, so I mean, if you're living in this vicinity right here, you know, and you wanna just go throw a ball, maybe, but if you wanna go play in the playground, you just walk that trail right to their playground, it's right there.
Mhm.
So that's why, and you know, this is a much bigger facility, it's already being taxpayer maintained by the school district. You know, you know, like I said, some of the communities you work in, they used to take a park in every development you got. Well, I live in the city of Prior Lake and there's 53 or 58 parks, they wanna retire 13 of them because they can't afford to maintain them all. There's so many parks, they have too many now.
Sure.
They took one in every single development that ever came, and it just doesn't work. They'd rather go to the bigger, more regional type approach that serves a larger vicinity than these little ones all over the place.
Tim?
It is and it isn't related to this outlot or, so. The berm. To the, I'm gonna say to the west. In where the last finished house is. On Bruce Larson Way. That butts up to this. Outlot 4. There's some silt fencing in here. But the berm level is higher here than it is going further down to the east on Bruce Larson Way. Why do we have 2 different elevations of berm there? Because this berm is starting to erode and there's a catch basin down in this corner here and it's getting filled with sand right now. There's a silt fence that is down.
To the east.
Well,
There's
what I'm
a
calling
erosion issue.
east is this way.
That would be east.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's a silt fence along this outlot 4 property line. And on the very back here. This last house that's been built there. You know, that's all developed. They got nice grass back there, but there is a drainage area back there
Yes.
and there's a grate in there. Well, the berm, the higher berm. On the newer part of the development. That's starting to wash away and it's starting to fill that catch basin there, okay? So that's more of a maintenance item. But my other question, along with all this water drainage we have going on up here on Wolf River Street. There's 2 catch basins further up to the west there.
Yep.
To catch stormwater. And when I look in there, there's pipe going to the north and there's pipe going to the south. And on the south catch basin, that piping goes all the way up to the highway. And there's a concrete drainage pipe out there. And my question is that overflow? Or are we taking the drainage from the highway? And is that being delivered to that pond back there?
I don't know.
Yeah, so
I guess that would be, I appreciate that, but to stay on topic here.
Right, that's.
Yeah,
a different
I just
topic.
wanted to bring it up
No,
because
I do appreciate you bringing it up. I'm
I
not,
don't want
not
to dwell
trying
on
to.
it long, but it's something that needs to be looked at. We started talking about this in the same area.
Completely understand that,
Okay.
Jim, but I just, you know, for the purposes of,
Right.
want to stay on topic
Just
here.
to address it, I'll be out there tomorrow, I'll go check that, and if there's an erosion issue where Sam's getting that catch basin, we'll have to get some silt
Yeah.
and stuff and clean that out.
Yeah, the silt fence is laying down.
And I know, so that might have got knocked down. I know we've been using this as kind of a staging area for the current fader. So there's a lot of new grading that's been done out there over the last, month or two.
Right,
And that berm was recently completed, so we're trying to get that vegetated right now, which, by the end of the year, hopefully there is vegetation, it'll help prevent some of this erosion stuff, so.
but I was just curious as to why there's two different elevations in the berms there. Is that sort of where everything comes together? Which would affect this property and the rest of the property to the west there.
Yeah, so I'm looking at the plan, there is storm sewer back there and that pipe that you said runs north and south. The water runs into that catch basin, it does run north. And then the future phases, it runs in those rear yards of them are the ones we just paved up there. And that'll eventually cross over, it crosses over at the very end of the street we just built and then into the corner of that pond. So that, some of that rear yard drainage, a lot of it's coming more from the west. Coming down, there's a swale there. And then where you're talking about the erosion, that water actually drains on these three lots will drain to the east, not back to that catch basin.
All right,
There, and that drains the east with a pipe that goes all the way across and then ties into the pond south of the school. So,
my primary concern is because at some point, isn't the village gonna be responsible for these,
Correct.
this stormwater piping? And if it's filling with sand now,
No, I don't disagree.
it's our responsibility and they won't accept it until that's all cleaned up.
That's right. We had that discussion with the first deal. That's why you did all that extensive work on that because we went back out and highlighted that, but.
I'll check it tomorrow.
Okay, back to the outlook here. What's this committee's, any further discussion or is there, any other questions? Dave?
So I have the original state architecture print here showing it out and it's listed as an outlot still. So you can just pass around, take it, it's my only copy. You'll see that there's a stamp that's outlot. And going back to our conversations back in 2021, it's something over for the people to use. Walk their dogs out there and then being out in the streets and sidewalks. Kids to play, do whatever you wanna do, maybe a gazebo shelter, something like that. But like I said, that was my first meeting when I sat in the planning commission. I kept the documentation. We had intended for that piece of property. So take that into consideration as you go forward.
And that plan is the same plan I have right here as well. So that was the preliminary plat that was approved, but the new concepts before that did show those as 3 lots.
Here's the signed up.
Exactly, that was what was approved, right? It shows it in all that, but it was the original concept had 3 on there before that got approved.
Well, and it doesn't mean that we can't change our minds and allow it.
Right.
I'm not saying we should, but
And I can totally respect what you're doing, bringing that, because
Yeah.
like you just said, you're a developer,
Yeah.
which that means you develop. And now you're sitting on a piece of property that
They can't develop.
you're not developing, so.
Right. But again, it was, at some point in time, it was agreed to remove that if the original concept was to have 3 lots there. And then now it was, there must have been some back and forth there as to what it was. And I'm not. I understand what you're saying, John, about, well, what do we do with it? Okay, well, I get that, but why did it change and why was it agreed to that it was changed? Because they did certify the map with it as an outlot. The question really, in my opinion, my question is why wasn't it discussed in the developers agreement as to what that outlot should be done with after that's been turned over to the.
And I think that's what we have to do. So I think that, because like you said, there's sidewalks and pathway that takes them from here to the school. Although it's not that hop, skip and a jump, it is somewhat of a hike for moms with babies. So I say I'm ready to make a motion to deny the application to replat the land. But then we also need to put it on an agenda, probably for next month already, of how we want to move forward to make use of it as green space from the village. Cause yeah, they shouldn't have to be forced to sit on undevelopable land. And so I guess we take over and decide how to move forward with it. That's what I'd want to do.
Is that a motion?
That's a motion.
I'll second.
You can word it however you want it to.
We got the gist of it.
I'm trying to filter it through, but I think what you're saying is a motion to deny
Yeah,
the replat, of the land application provided for us, right?
absolutely.
And that was properly seconded by Brenda. Any further discussion on that? A roll call vote. Donnie Kern. Aye. Jessica Flirt,
Nay.
Lane Belter,
Aye.
Brenda Forrest.
You said aye.
I think so.
Are we saying aye for yes?
You're agreeing with,
I said the
you're agreeing.
denial.
I'm not
Yeah.
agreeing. I don't want, I don't want more park, sorry.
Oh, God, well, it doesn't have to be a park.
I know.
Well,
If you seconded a motion, I would vote aye.
aye.
Yeah.
Potts,
She said
Yes,
no.
aye.
I know.
Say what-
Brett Stanley,
Aye.
Dan Benaz.
Aye.
I knew it.
Okay, so it's the motion
And it doesn't
is,
have to be a-
is passed to deny the application as presented. The next item up for discussion is possible
Next week.
Pardon?
That goes to board next week then? Final.
Yeah.
No, no park.
Does not.
It wouldn't go to the board, would it? Because it wasn't recommended to go forward, so it dies here.
So it dies here on a denial?
Denies the committee, it doesn't make it out of committee.
Right.
Or commission, I don't think it goes to the village board. We can verify that. later.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking that it may,
I think.
It may have
Every other
been said that,
place I've
yeah.
ever done it, does go to the
I
board.
think
I
you
think
may
you
still
could-
be
that's a
able to bring
recommending
it to the
body.
village board and the village board can approve it with our.
I think so too. Yeah.
Yeah.
We have no power whatsoever. We
So
just
it's a
have a
recommendation.
recommendation.
They're recommended.
Yeah.
That's why I thought it goes to the board, but.
Yeah.
I believe it does.
Asked to put it on the agenda for them.
Yeah, I don't
It's gonna
think-
come without a recommendation and a
Well, it comes with a recommendation of denial.
recommendation.
Yes.
Correct.
Recommendation is to deny it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it still goes, you can. If you choose to drop it, that's fine, but if you still chose, you can go to the board.
Yeah, I think we would take.
You're exactly right.
And get final denial.
You're correct,
Yeah.
Dan.
That's right.
Thank you.
All right,
Thanks
thank
for
you.
the, thanks for the back and forth.
Yeah, we'll check on that erosion.
Thank you, John.
Tomorrow when I'm out here, so.
Yep, appreciate
The
that.
next item up for discussion is zoning enforcement process. Discussion possible recommendation. This was brought up after the meeting last month and I had some communication with some fellow residents in regards to the zoning enforcement. And I wasn't able to get it on last month's agenda because it was too late when I got the emails, but I said I committed to them that I would put this on the agenda for discussion. My understanding is that there's a zoning administrator and it was kind of provided to this board to enforce the zoning rules and infractions thereof, right? And there's been some kind of confusion as to how that process would take place. You know, there's a problem over there. Well, who's gonna do it? So I think there's been a very good email in your packet here different zoning administrators and different municipalities and how they've acted, and Kim put that together. Appreciate you for doing that. Anybody else wish to elaborate or give anything on this? I guess I'm open to anything, but I think we do have to start at some point in time. The only thing I can say is if we're gonna go forward, because we've been so laxy-daisy on it, that we need to do a mass education with our residents. If we're gonna start, hey, we're gonna start doing this, we want you to know that we're gonna start doing this, and it's gonna have to be you know, consistent and above board, so we don't get people saying, well, what about him first, you know, that kind of thing. So,
I said from the get-go, I'm not comfortable going out to my neighbors and enforcing the ordinance of the village. I think it needs to be somebody that doesn't live in it. But it's easier to, you don't have retribution, you don't have,
Impartiality.
yeah,
Mhm.
yes.
So my main reason for putting this short memo together, it's been talked, board after board after board, planning commission the same way. It keeps coming up. What do? They don't want to pay for an attorney to research it. So I went forward, I looked at Wisconsin statutes on the zoning thing. And to simplify it, so you don't have to read 100 pages. It appears like we have like 5 different options that typical village would do. And it would, you know, it's based on what can you afford.
Do we know what the towns around us that are similar size with the same
So-
goal, like?
I think,
Oh, here, the city.
you know, obviously,
Yes, there.
to have a full-time zoning administrator, I don't know how we could do that.
No,
If you've got a way, great, but I don't know how we could do that.
The on-call enforcement model seems
Well-
reasonable.
It's for all of you to
here's the question I have right now, currently. If there's a problem, is it a resident or a citizen or staff has to generate to elevate it to a complaint, right? Is that right?
That's, I think, how it's operating right now, although I thought that if they had a 1-year CUP, they were supposed to each year bring it back, but they have to know that too. And why would they offer to do that? If we're not saying, hey, your 1 year's up, come talk to them. They're probably thinking, hey, don't ask, don't tell. I'm just gonna stay back here. So we need to really lay down how this is going to work much more distinctly and with teeth of what's gonna happen if it doesn't get held.
So,
Do we address them? Your year's up, bring in proof? Or,
Well, this goes beyond CUPs.
Yeah.
You got junk
Use it residential.
property or.
right, so all the.
if you have an actual ordinance violation that there is significant trash or something or, you know, potential of, you know, sanitation or something in somebody's backyard,
Mhm.
that you need to address those issues. And I'm saying, if staff or, you know, what's the process? You know, does it, you know, John Doe over here, that John Doe neighbor elevate it and say, hey, I've talked to him. I've asked him to clean up behind his place or whatever, you know, there's, you know, rodents or whatever. I'm just using, does it get elevated at that point in time to staff? Or what's the process? Does staff have to take it to, the planning commission? And do we, who handles the complaints that are elevated? That, I guess, is the first part, because we need to figure out where the complaint goes and who's gonna handle the complaint, and then how do you police the complaint? And Kim's done a very good job of handling different options on policing, but we still gotta figure out
Who's gonna do it?
where the complaints go elevated to. Do they come to the planning commission and we look at it? Does it go to us independent, you know, person with staff?
Well, last time I did it, I just went to Bob.
So let's back up here.
That's kind of how it's been, right?
Let's back up here just a bit. Let's back up to about 2019, 2020, 21, 22 in that area there. At that time, the board recognized the problem. So in fairness to the residents in question with their cleanup, the chief of police was assigned to put a list together. I assisted the chief of police with that. Bob and I also took a drive around the village and got a second list together. The police department pushed back. They didn't think it was their problem, but we had to at least develop a list and get some letters out.
Mhm.
So now they've been notified,
Mhm.
okay?
Mhm.
So that happened. And the new board came on after that and nothing got followed up on.
Hence, you know,
So-
do we have a ordinance on the books for zoning administrator or anything like that, or?
Yeah, so it's an unfilled position in the village, and how we've done that in the past was. The clerk would handle some, I would handle some, the police department would handle some, but then there's a lot of gray areas. It's like, okay, well, there's a dead tree. It looks like it's gonna fall on your neighbor's house. You need to cut that down, get it removed in 30 days. Well, then they don't do that. What's the next step? They don't get rid of the junk, you know, whatever infraction they are against the normal property conditions. It's the enforcement, and we can only go so far. I can't authorize a tow truck to go yank.
But then it goes to the board then, right, after that?
It's not real clear.
That's what we're saying, we don't know.
That's why I'm asking
So
if there's you know, is it? You know, I'm perfectly fine with figuring out who's gonna chase the complaints. But the end result is, if there's no teeth in, or enforcement process for that individual, then you're chasing your tail, because you're coming up a brick wall, and then there's going to be that, well, I'm done, you know, cause I can't get anything accomplished. And that's why I asked if it's in the ordinance that way, that, you know, those matters would be, you know, forwarded to the attorney for final resolution, or do they just, the board said, we're not
that
gonna
was
spend the money?
suggested because they have the legal qualifications to carry to the next process. However, the board didn't, I shouldn't say the entire board, part of the board didn't want to spend the money. Anders cost too much. The other problem with that was we had a clerk that also was against that. And I think that was totally wrong. However, there were several properties contacted. And I went back and looked at the one list that I had. And I went around again here just Tuesday to find out how many of these on that 2019 list had taken care of their properties. Some have, a lot haven't. The problem with the ones that haven't done anything is they've gotten worse. So they were notified, and in some cases, I was there when the phone call was made by the chief of police to these people, or he met them in person. Got dropped.
I know there was some discussion, the previous president was working through, and I think he was trying to deal with this issue too. With, you know, enforcement of zoning deals, and he went to approach a company and asked them if they wanted to you know, take on that endeavor, and they politely declined. So I'm concerned, well, whether or not we can actually get somebody to do that, or do we just, you know, do we just recommend or say, ask the board to deliberate on who they're going to require to, you know, enforce the matter? It definitely, as we continue to grow, this is gonna become more and more.
Right, and that's why it
Because-
needs to be it needs to be quieted now, because it's getting worse. We got new residents coming into town. What kind of examples is that set?
So do we put out for a zoning administrator or a zoning enforcement officer as a part-time deal? And we ask the board to figure out some kind of a pay and or,
How to finance it?
yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
I think we do.
pardon?
I think so.
Okay, well,
Make a motion.
So. Can I just add one more step to this? To just give you a couple examples. So the city of Richmond has a zoning department, and they also have a community development department. And they handle all their zoning between them two departments. They do use their attorney if needed. If they gotta go to the next step and you know, they have to, it becomes a court issue. City of Hudson has a designated zoning administrator who pretty much sees over all those violations and such. And the clerk is responsible for the permits and the applications. Village of Baldwin, they pretty much do their own. The village board, their
Administrator.
city administrator. It starts with him and then goes from there. And then the board, between him and the board, they decide which direction that will go. Roberts is responsible for their own as a board, not really a planning commission. And Hammond has a designated building inspector. And they have their building inspector enforce their zoning. Star Prairie is through the village hall. So,
But in all of those. Okay, so I've got a junk car sitting right at the edge of my property. Everybody sees it and it's just an eyesore. And the zoning administrator or board member or whomever comes and says, get rid of it. Get rid of it. It just keeps coming at me, get rid of it. And I don't get rid of it. What happens to me? I'm not gonna get rid of it.
well, okay.
That's
And
what,
we would
that's
have
what,
to look at our ordinance.
that's exactly right. That's
Do we-
what I
do
would,
We would have to look at our ordinances.
we do. We
The
do.
one issue you have with that is if that vehicle is licensed and will run. And this came from the police department legally. That car can sit there
Okay,
forever.
so let's change it to a broken down camper that's got all the pieces falling apart and the axle's broken, but it's still parked there and
That becomes a public nuisance and I.
Right. And I refuse to move it. I refuse to get rid of it. How do I get made to do that? What power comes? Cause the police come and say, you gotta move this or else.
What's the URL?
What's the or else?
Well, if you look in our ordinances, there are some
Or
penalties and some consequences for that. But it depends upon what the situation is how each one of those are handled.
I think it's a lot of it is subject to, you know, working with that individual to rectify the situation. If there's a difference between mandatory compliance and voluntary compliance too.
Mhm.
And mandatory compliance can be because, you know, we want to do that, and I don't think that's where we're trying to go here. We're trying to work with those individuals because if they continue to, if they continue to allow for those, broken down campers here, next thing you got a broken down camper here, you got a broken down camper here, and everybody in town has got a broken down camper, and pretty soon I got this nice place that is that I take care of, and my property value goes in the tank.
Mhm.
And that's the whole reason for the ordinance is that, and the public nuisance aspect of it, and that's where you try to work with them to rectify the situation, and if it doesn't happen, then the board would have to take action, and that could be legally.
Yeah, and do we have that in our books, when it comes to the mandatory
I would
compliance?
have to.
Because cooperative compliance hasn't been working.
Yeah.
Do we have that?
I didn't have the time to research all the ordinances and that was gonna be my next step, but
Good job, Kim.
It's not any different than, the village going in and mowing a property and
Oh,
charging.
they're charging them
And
for
assessing them.
throw it away.
right,
At some point, you gotta remove, the village gonna pay to remove that car and assess the property.
And then it just goes on their property taxes?
Ooh.
well, they get it.
I mean, potentially, that, I don't know that's
Yeah.
specific with our ordinance, but I mean, I think with all the legal aspects of it, they would be taken through the proper legal channels. And if there isn't an ordinance on it, then the board would have to act on that matter and decide whether or not they wanted to create an ordinance to deal with the matter. But as of right now, it would go to the attorney, I think. But I think right now, what they're saying is we need to have a recommendation that the board start looking at this and getting a zoning administrator for the purpose of handling complaints and budgeting for it, whether it be part-time or you know,
Or quarterly
or as needed, whatever, on call. Yeah, I think those are all great, you know, things. It could, if somebody wants to take it and they're willing to say, yeah, I'm willing to, you know, enter in that. I know Dan's opinion on the matter and I appreciate that. And I honestly, I'm kind of in the same boat as he is, you know, but I always suggest to somebody, as we are all neighbors, is, hey, you know, you need a hand with something, help you, you know? But also, you know, somebody tells you to go pound sand, you know, and there are those individuals out there.
But that's when you take the next step, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
So we need to hire that.
We just need to figure out where we need to elevate these complaints to so that they can adjudicate them properly.
Mhm.
And I don't think we don't have that. We have it in the ordinance. We just don't have it in our. We don't have it in our arsenal, you know, I guess. So I heard a motion.
Probably would behoove the board to maybe
Are you making a motion?
not yet. I'm working on it. I think they should probably pass this through the attorney, just to get his opinion. I don't know how much the current attorney we have has looked at our ordinances, but he would probably be better
Give us some insight on it.
better answer a lot of the questions that came up here,
Well,
because I haven't reviewed, I don't know if any of the ordinances have changed since,
yeah.
because those were being reviewed at that time.
We
too,
did,
and I don't
we
know what
reviewed a
happened.
number of those ordinances with trees and stuff like that through Public Works and kept a lot of those on the books yet, so. I know there was some changes in the last 2 years. We went through with the refrigerators and everything. I remember us making a lot of changes to them, so they're still on the books. If it's the will of this planning commission to, request that the board take a look at that, then really we need to start going down there, and we can always address the ordinance issues, Kim, if you wanna, you know, I mean, by the, in parallel to this process.
I would also look at our responsibility with county zoning versus.
Well, I think we,
Yeah, I don't know where we're at with the county zoning on how far they'll go with the village.
Well, that's a question that we could
Yeah.
ask them, right?
Yeah,
so county doesn't get involved with our municipality.
County could,
They do?
they could.
They could, yes, because, yeah.
They're
county-
not right now, though, but.
County staff can, you know, through governmental agreements, you can.
Motion,
I
I
would
think so.
question.
I'll make a
the
motion.
effectiveness of that.
Right, but I
I don't
don't,
say it right.
Hold on one second.
I'll make a
Somebody's on the
motion
board.
to discuss or look at hiring a zoning enforcement person, whether it be on call, part-time as needed,
To the board,
That's,
to the
to the
full board.
board, to the full board.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that motion?
What?
You cannot.
I apologize.
I made a motion to
Recommend to the full board.
recommend to the full board to look at hiring a zoning enforcement person. Whether that be part-time on call, whatever we further discuss.
There's a motion on the floor,
I second that.
motion on the floor and second. To recommend to the village board to discuss and look at possible zoning enforcement person. Right?
Or some type of sharing
Or,
agreement.
or
Yeah.
looking at it through the county or
Yeah.
whatnot.
However that looks.
Do we need someone to review the current ordinances?
Yeah, is that our?
Well, I think
Can we do
we
that?
would have to review the ordinance ourselves if we're gonna. That's kind of gonna be our due diligence.
So
But
we'll
if
review
the
that.
village board is gonna.
well, it's either the planning commission, the board, or you hire the attorney to review your ordinances. Those are the three choices you have.
Well, my opinion, just my opinion on this, is that a lot of the ordinances we have already went through. If you guys want to look through the ordinances, I would suggest that we pay an attorney to review our ordinances. If you think there's changes that need to be made, my suggestion would be bring them to the board, either through the planning commission, or take them to the village board for consideration. But I wouldn't waste time taking them to the attorney. What I would ask the attorney is this legal, or what, our legal basis is? But if you said, I need to get an ordinance on this, or this ordinance needs to be reviewed, let the board look at it. And even with the attorney at our meetings, can make a recommendation there, and we don't have to spend additional funds for that.
Sooner than later, because right now the odor coming out of Bowers property smells like there's a dead body down there, or something dead.
So
Been going on for a week now.
the motion's on the floor. Motion's on the floor, and I'd like to, any further discussion on the motion that's pertinent to the motion. So hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carried. So we'll send that off to the village board for, discussion. Next item is, rescheduling, July planning commission due to the July 4th holiday. Back up for 1 second, though, if there is issues that are of concern, you feel free to bring them to staff, and they can start adjudicating those. And if they have to go elevate to the village board for final adjudication, they can do there. Okay?
Sober.
Oh, he's looking at me.
July planning commission is looking at July 2nd. There was some concern if you wanted to have it that day. I can tell you this, I'm going to be out from the 8th until the 18th out of the country. So I'll be available the 6th and 7th. I will be out of town on the 2nd, so I won't be able to
When will
be
you
in
be in
attendance.
town?
Pardon?
When will you be in town?
The 6th and 7th.
The 6th and 7th?
Yep.
I have no plans because I can't walk, so
I have
I'll
no-
just be there.
But
I
I
can
mean,
do either one.
Is there anything on the agenda at this point?
I don't have anything yet, but potentially there's a couple things coming through. You could always do like the week before,
Last week in June.
yeah, the last week in June, like. Or not reschedule,
Or just.
if everybody's gonna
Just
be
put
here.
August.
I don't know what your thoughts are. If you wanna just leave it or do you wanna
Public safety.
have it on the 2nd? You're welcome to have it on the 2nd. I probably could do
Can we do it after public safety on the 2nd, on the 6th?
on the 7th.
Oh.
We're on the public safety, public safety.
Monday,
Monday.
Yeah, either one, I'm fine with that,
right?
Before or after that one?
late. I
Just
know
so
you
you
have,
know,
Bible
public
study
safety's on the.
on Tuesdays, right?
Right.
I don't know, can you check out the
It might be
calendar?
over there, right there.
If it's the second
Nothing
Monday,
on July 6th.
Is it the second Monday?
No,
Oh,
the
the
first
first
Monday.
one, it's on the
Second.
13th,
First Monday.
Oh, it's on the 13th.
13th.
and it's at 5. And there's last what?
I'm not sure if I can make a meeting between the 1st and the 10th anyway, July. I got a
How about the end of June?
busy,
You guys
end of
decide.
June I could.
You gotta go?
Yes.
Do you need help?
I'm not important as village president, but
I'm not feeling the best.
Are you kicking all the way home?
Or Uber's current.
My Uber's here, you guys.
Sorry.
Take care.
Get well.
Okay,
So are we looking at end of June then for a quorum? Because I think if we're looking at a Monday or Tuesday, early July, it sounds like we might not have there.
Yeah,
right. So if you're looking at Thursday, to maintain a quorum, would you be looking at like the 25th of June then?
Yeah, because our Bible study on Thursday nights doesn't begin until 6:30 and most of them roll until 7
On Thursdays?
on Thursdays.
I can do.
So
June
25th?
sometime.
Thursday, the 25th?
That's only 3 weeks away, but I'm sure if we put notice out, we just say that that's what we can meet on.
You gotta, in order to get anything on the agenda, you have to have 2 weeks, right? If nothing comes in next.
Well, you wanna get stuff for consideration.
Well, could we also, if something is timely, call a special plan commission prior to village board?
Yeah,
If something dire had to come in, cause it could be something,
Well, also I'm thinking right now, is there something as of right now that we even need a July?
maybe. Yeah,
Okay,
I am waiting on somebody.
and put it June 25 be acceptable.
Oh, is it
Yeah,
too soon?
it could.
And I guess what he's saying, what Bob is saying too is there a possibility of that the week of the 20th of July before the village board meeting or a special planning commission meeting is needed?
What time,
So
What day of the week?
Monday or Tuesday?
is the village board on the 20th?
Well, yeah, if
if it's an emergency,
if it's even needed.
So the 20th?
Ed?
why don't we just look at the 25? It does 25 of June work for everybody right now?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. so-
25th.
25th of June?
Okay,
I make a motion to change to June 25th.
your second?
Second,
Okay, motion made.
6 P M, of course, same time.
6 P M, correct. So that's your motion.
That's my motion.
Okay, so,
my second.
so the July meeting will be held on June 25th. Per the motion is,
Second.
at 6 P M.
6
The
P M.
motion been made, properly seconded. Is there any discussion on that? I'd say the only discussion I have is if there's anything that comes timely and needs to be done to be in consideration prior to the village board meeting. If we can't make it by then, but that's kind of always as it is anyways, right?
Mhm.
So. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carried.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn is on the table.
Second that too.
Motion made, seconded to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed,